Hello, everybody, and welcome to a special edition of Dota Daily, the TI3 Survivor's Guide edition, in which I'm going to be explaining kind of some of the more basic to intermediate concepts to help newer viewers to understand like what's going to be going on in the mayhem tomorrow, because TI3 starts officially tomorrow, the main event. So it's a big deal, and yeah, let's just jump straight right into it. So, unfortunately, I'll just let you guys know off the bat. I don't really have as much time to prepare for this as I wanted to, just because the Dota servers were offline earlier. So I didn't really get to mess around with some of the commands that I wanted to test out. But it'll be fine. Whatever. We just go with it. WTF mode and sure. So I'm gonna go ahead and start off by explaining some of the more basic concepts that a lot of you may already know, and I'll just kind of blossom out from there. Eventually, we'll be delving into topics such as like smoke ganks, rotations, offensive and defensive tri-lanes, split pushing, stuff like that. But let's go ahead and start with a simple thing that most of you know called pooling, and I'm just going to go ahead and start the game. So pooling is... Actually, let me go ahead and also... Well, no, we'll just wait it out. We'll wait. Pooling is a concept that brings these neutral creeps, this camp on the Radiant side and this camp on the Dire side, into the lane, so that the lane... Actually, it'll be easier to just demonstrate to you guys, but the basic purpose behind it is to deny your enemies experience, because you'll bring your lane creeps into this jungle, in which they'll die here, so oftentimes your enemies won't get the experience for them, while your supports who are actually pulling are getting experience and gold for free. So this camp spawned by now. So the pulling timers are usually around 15 or 45, one or the other, 30-second intervals. And so I take the aggro from this camp over here, and I pull it into my lane. And as you can see, the lane pulls into this camp, and they're gonna fight this camp, and I could just take the last hits like whenever they get low, and once this camp dies, the creeps will leave, evacuate this area, and go back to their original line, which is straight for the tower. I'm gonna show why this is actually not the ideal way to do this. See, so you see that I pulled that wave, but suddenly these creeps are going back into the lane, and they're gonna meet up with this wave over here. This is actually what you don't want, because this means there's going to be a very powerful... Actually, I'll take that back. Sometimes you actually do want this, but as you can see, this wave is pushing really hard because there's double the creeps, obviously. So this wave is going to push to the tower, which also means that the carry in this safe lane over here, it's going to be very difficult for them to farm safely, because they're going to have to be farming up here in this area, which is open to ganks from here, from mid. It's very risky. It's a very far distance from this tower over here. So this is actually not ideal if you want your carry to farm safely. What you want to do instead is come over here and... Actually, the timing's wrong, unfortunately, but I'll show you guys in just a minute. What you want to do is something called stacking. What that does is... So creeps spawn every minute. So the next camp is going to spawn at 3 minutes, but it won't spawn if there's a camp already there. However, stacking is basically just drawing the aggro of this camp right before the minute mark, bringing them out, and then another camp will spawn in here, and then the existing camp will walk over here, and that'll give you a double camp over here. And whenever you pull that actually just obliterates the creep wave that you pull in whenever you pull this, and it'll completely deny the enemy of all experience, basically. So I'll go ahead and demonstrate in a second. So usually the stack timers are around 53 seconds. So I'm going to want to draw the aggro at 53, and then pull them out. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and hit them. Pull them out over here. I'm gonna start walking back. So this camp already spawned, so this should be a double camp right here. So now in about 10 seconds, I'm gonna go ahead and pull, and as you'll see that the wave will just get destroyed. Actually, shouldn't have walked up that early, but you get the point anyways. If you walk up too early, some of the creeps will get by. So yeah, this is something that if, let's say, your Dire side on bottom lane, you actually don't want this to occur, because obviously it'll just eat up all your experience. You're not going to get anything out of it. So there's a way to stop this, and that's kind of what you have to do if you want to have any chance of laning against shenanigans like this. And that concept is known as blocking. I'm going to go ahead and give myself some wards.
Your bottom tower is
Okay, and actually I'll go ahead and give myself one more observer. Oh, strongest catapult in the world. So I'm gonna go ahead and kill these neutrals just to clear the camp. Watch how strong I am. I'm Strongman Furion over here. So let's just make this easier. Obviously, I'm playing with cheats on, so this isn't something you can do in game. Or is it? Okay, so this camp is gone, and if you place a ward anywhere in this vicinity, or actually, I'll just demonstrate by just standing here. If there's anything in this kind of general vicinity, this box here, this camp won't spawn. So the 5-minute mark hits, but obviously there's no creeps. The same would happen if there was a ward here, or let's say like a ward here. This is called the magic bush. It's a very special ward spot, or a very special block spot, which will block this camp and also this camp. Yeah, if there's anything there, when the minute marker hits, nothing will spawn. This stops the pulling from Radiant side, and you know, it's the same concept works top also. Like a ward in here, you often see, or if you don't want this to be counter warded super easily, you can place one here. There's also other spots like around here and stuff, but you get the picture. It'll basically stop the pulling and force the supports on the opposite team to buy counter wards and try to get rid of those observer wards so that they can resume pulling again. So that's about it for blocking and stuff like that. Often you'll see the supports start games with sentries just to try to get rid of this, make sure none of this stuff happens. And I guess I'll branch into early game jungle evasions from there. So whenever games start, whenever a game just starts, and you'll sometimes see all five players of a team. Let's say we're Radiant side, okay? So you'll sometimes see all 5 members of the team just walk into this jungle together, the enemy jungle. This has a few purposes. One, you might get easy kills just because maybe there's a stray support walking out here trying to check for wards or what have you. That's an easy first blood. But more importantly than that, what this does is it forces the enemy out. So if the enemy doesn't have control of their own jungle, this leaves you free to ward wherever you want, block whatever you want, and they have no idea where you're warding. They're completely in the dark. They have no idea where to counter ward your wards to get rid of them. So yeah, it just gives you free reign basically, and this will really help your lane. Whichever lane has to go up against this safe lane, dire safe lane or whatever. But that's mainly the point of that, and also, like I said before, could be free kills. And yeah, let me move on. Let me bring up my sparse notes over here that I wrote up like maybe 5 minutes ago. Let's go on into tri-lane and off-lane, kind of purposes of that. So most commonly in pro games and competitive games, you'll see tri-lanes. You'll see 3 heroes put to a single lane, and you'll see another thing called an off-lane. So let's say we're Radiant side. Well, I guess we are Radiant side, but you know, assuming in an actual game we're Radiant side. If we were to send 3 heroes here, a carry, a support, and another support, this would be called a defensive tri-lane. The reason it's called defensive tri-lane is because this is the lane with the pull that we could be pulling constantly. The supports could be pulling this, and not to mention the wave is usually closer to this tower as opposed to this tower, so it's a bit safer for your carry to farm. This is generally the lane that you want your carry to be in if you want them to farm efficiently. This lane, however, on the Radiant side is called the off lane. This is basically the opponent's safe lane. This is where they'll be sending their defensive tri-lanes, if they're going to do a defensive tri-lane at least. This is where you usually send a single hero. Since you have 3 heroes down here in your defensive tri-lane, you have 1 hero in mid for your solo mid. You'll often have a off-lane hero, which just goes by himself into this super hard lane. And his goal isn't so much to farm. His goal isn't to win the lane. It's just to survive and soak up levels. So often you'll see heroes like a bounty hunter whose level 6 is crucial, but he doesn't actually need farm because he gets farm from his ultimate track. You'll see heroes like him being sent up here. Also, very survivable heroes like Windrunner with her Windrun skill, which makes it easier for her to run away in case of danger. You'll see heroes like that put up in this lane solo to just try to soak up as much experience as they can. However, if they start fearing a lot of death on their side, like if they think they're going to die a lot, you'll often see them just abandon the lane and just do shenanigans like jungling or try to get gank rotations on other lanes. You'll see stuff like that. So that's defensive tri-lane and off-lane. So I'm going to go ahead and explain the purpose of offensive tri-lane. So let's say Dire side has a safe farming Alchemist defensive tri-lane. They have an Alchemist, let's say Rubik and Shadow Demon or something like that. Oftentimes you can send 3 heroes up here, and that'll be an offensive tri-lane. That's the goal of an offensive tri-lane, is to shut down the enemy's carry, to disrupt their carry's farm, or to get as many kills as possible. So you'll send heroes like Visage and other heroes that basically have a lot of burst and a lot of killing power, a lot of killing potential. And their goal isn't so much to get farm as it is to just, like I said before, disrupt the enemy's carry's farm or just to get kills. If they do that, they're basically doing their job. And that's basically a defensive tri-lane that goes to waste on the enemy side. And then you'll see a solo 1v1 down here often, because the enemy's off lane and a solo, let's say like something like a Weaver who gets really farm, or great farm in 1v1 situations and has a great time. You often see heroes like sometimes Anti-Mage, if it's an easier offlane like, I don't know, a Windrunner or something like that. You'll see heroes like that go and solo this lane instead. Let's see, what next? Oh, also, the role of supports in offlanes is actually crucial. So, supports, like I stated earlier, you'll often see them pulling, because they're not in the lane, they want their carry to get as much XP and gold and free farm as much as possible. They don't want to be soaking up that XP and stealing the XP from the carry. So that's why they do these pulls, which gives them free XP and free gold, and also denies the enemy. So you'll often see them stacking and pulling over and over. But when they're not doing that, they're spending their time warding, like warding, let's say, river spots or up here to see any kind of possible rotations to keep their carry safe. And you'll also see them rotate, which that just means just move to another lane to gank, to get free kills on, let's say, mid, or sometimes you'll see a surprise TP top and get some kills up there. Basically get some action going. The support role is very crucial in the early game. The supports are the ones that are doing the most. They're constantly busy. They always have something to do. And yeah, it's very important to have active supports early on in the game. Let's see. Next, I'll move on to a concept called split pushing. So, actually, no, let's go to Smokes from there, because it kind of ties in with what I was talking about earlier. So, Smoke of Deceit is an item in the game that's very underused in pub games for whatever reason. It's very useful, although the use of the item isn't really stated up front, so it's not super obvious. But it's actually one of the most useful items in the game for ganking, for offensive purposes. So what this item does is it actually has I'll mention off the top, it has a really long restock timer. So you buy 3 and then the restock timer is like 12 minutes, so you can't just spam on these forever. But they're very cheap, they're 100 gold, and they're consumable. So you use them and this huge puff of smoke appears, and all allies in this area get the smoke buff effect. For all intents and purposes, they're invisible. They can't be seen. However, if they run into an enemy hero within, I want to say it was 1300 range? Was it? No, 1025. I'm thinking about hook range for some reason. 1025 range. If they encounter an enemy hero, then this effect will just be immediately dispelled. So this also, not only does it make you invisible, but it makes you move faster. However, you are invisible to all wards, but sentries can still see you. Okay, this is a unique smoke effect that I should go over. So sentries can see you, however, you won't be shown up on the minimap. So let's say there's an enemy sentry here. I'm standing right here. The enemies won't actually see me on this minimap. My little icon won't be visible. However, if they actually mouse over, or if their camera is actually over this area and they're actively looking here, they can see me and know that I'm here. So kind of rewards high map awareness, looking around at areas when you're a little, if you think your spidey sense is telling you that there's probably a smoke gang going off. If you have sentries in that area, you could be looking there directly and maybe spot it out. So the main use of this item is to go around and get easy ganks. So let's say I'm Radiant side, let's say I'm like a Crystal Maiden or something like that. Maybe a Shadow Demon, a Chen, some sort of ganker. I smoke up, I walk around, not really this area, I probably more go this route, but let's just say I go this way, I'm walking, none of their wards see me because I'm invisible, like I said earlier. I can wrap around this way, let's say the enemy mid's here, our mid's here, I'm Crystal Maiden, I come here, and then I'm revealed right when I come to like around this point. However, at this point it's too late because I'm going to get a Frostbite off, this enemy carry is going to be disabled, our mid jumps on him, and then maybe I nuke, and then that's a gank. He's dead, basically. So for 100 gold, you're investing 100 gold for 250 gold for your carry or your solo mid who gets the kill, minus gold for the person who's dying. It's small investment for a lot of reward. So it's a very crucial item. It can be used for a lot of other things. Let's say warding. This is something that I don't see often, but it's actually pretty important. If you're smoked up, you can actually ward a lot safer because let's say I want to ward this area. However, the enemy already has an observer ward here. If I just try to walk up here and... Actually, I don't have to get myself a ward. I can just... You guys know what I'm saying. If I try to ward up here and they already have a ward, they know I'm coming this whole time. As soon as I walk in, like, let's say this area, I'm walking, trying to ward, they see me coming. They have time to prepare and they can jump on me easily and just kill me because they have advanced knowledge I'm going there. However, if I'm smoked up, I can freely walk here and lay a ward because you can actually use items and abilities while smoked, and it won't actually reveal you unlike traditional invis mechanics. So I can go ahead and lay a ward here. I'll still be invisible. I can safely run away. And let's say I'm coming here to ward and my smoke dispels. Then I know that there's someone here or here, like already in this vicinity. I can immediately just start to back away before they can get too close. So there are lots of defensive purposes to smoke as well. You'll often see late game, if there's kind of a stalemate going, you'll see a 5-man smoke. You'll see an entire team smoke together and roam around the map, look for a kill, look for a pick-off, and that usually leads into a big push or some other objective like taking Rosh or getting map control, laying wards everywhere while they're down and have to retreat. Things like that. Smoke leads to a lot of kind of metagame, mind game gameplay. I guess I'll lead into something that's not really related, but split pushing. Split pushing is a crucial part of this game. Usually you'll see it from a team whenever they can't take a 5-man fight, like they're not confident in their ability to team fight. Like let's say the enemy team already has an advantage, they're not confident to fight, so what you'll see is someone like the Nature's Prophet. Let's go ahead and level up 25. Okay. You often see a Nature Prophet like TP up here, try to push this lane, like let's say there's a team fight or a skirmish going down here. Or not necessarily going down, but people are posturing for a fight. Let's say there's 3 or 4 here trying to defend this tower, there's 3 or 4 here trying to push this tower. They're just trying to do a defensive dance, just dancing around this tower. In the meantime, there's a Nature's Prophet up here with lots of trees pushing this tower. This is called split pushing. Whenever you're trying to buy time for a hero to push a lane, kind of uncontested. And then Nature's Prophet is kind of an ideal candidate for this because he has this TP skill, so I can just like TP out if I sense any trouble, I can TP back in whenever I want to push, I can TP here to join the engagement if things really require my presence. And there's always these trees constantly just pressuring these towers. So basically what this forces the enemy team to do is force them to make a decision. Do I want to defend this tower that's being split pushed? Do I want to just commit to an all-in kind of engagement down here so that the Nature's Prophet is kind of forced to join this fight, or maybe just make the trade-off. Like let's say this tower was still up and instead we were fighting for this tower. This tower is more valuable than this T1 tower, so sometimes it's worth just making the trade. And yeah, split pushing is something you'll see often from teams that are down and kind of at a disadvantage. You'll see heroes like Nature's Prophet split pushing. Tinker is another great candidate for that. Broodmother, although you won't see Broodmother much in the competitive scene anymore, but heroes like that. Weaver sometimes. Spectre, because she has her ultimate, which will allow her to join the fight at any time. And yeah, split pushing is a very common part of Dota. It's a very powerful part. It's something to be taken seriously, but or you know, if you're in the game, taken seriously. That sounds a little weird, but you know what I mean. Let's see what else. Move on to maybe some raw strats and mind games. So Roshan is up from level as soon as the game starts, but often you won't see teams try to take him out. Actually, let me just go ahead and waltz in there. Often you won't see teams try to take him out until later in the game, let's say around 20-minute mark, 30-minute mark, somewhere around there. But there are certain lineups that are actually, they're kind of primed to take Raj very early on. Let's say even like at the 0-minute mark, when the game is first starting, you'll see teams like, notably Alliance, with the proper lineup, they can just maybe smoke up and walk in here at the start of the game. Sometimes you'll see them TP, all TP over here to try to get there as quickly as possible. And it's possible to take down Rosh before the game even starts. The problem is you need certain lineups to do so, because some heroes are suited towards it more than others, like let's say Ursa or Lone Druid, heroes like that. So the problem with that is that often it can be kind of scouted out by the hero picks alone before the game even starts. So you'll see kind of mind games going around this area at the 0-minute mark, because let's say Dire has Ursa and Lone Druid and like heroes like that picked out at the start. You'll see the Radiant team just kind of see those hero picks, kind of be cautious about it, and they'll kind of wander around this area and check in here every so often. So you'll see a lot of mind games sometimes whenever hero picks like that are out on the board. Like Alliance is really famous for this. Even back when they were no Tide Hunter, they kind of played with these strats a lot. Sometimes they would just go straight for the level 1 Rosh and take him out. And whenever you take him out, if you take him out when you're level 1, let's say theoretically all 5 of your heroes are in there and they're taking him out, they kill him, that's level 2 for everyone automatically, and it's a free Aegis. In case you guys didn't know, whenever Roshan dies, he drops his Aegis of Immortal, which is an item that you can pick up, and it's basically like a free revive. You die with that, and you're just instantly revived. So it's a huge advantage early on, and it gives the team lots of gold, gives the team lots of experience. Super effective. You can get it, kill him early on. But so sometimes you'll see teams like Alliance just rush for him and get an early, quick kill on him. But other times you'll see it's the same team, like let's say Alliance, just kind of mind game their opponents out. They'll make the opponents think that they're going into Rosh. Like the most recent example of this was whenever they picked a Nature's Prophet, they made some trees and they sent a single tree into Rosh when they knew that the enemy team was standing right here watching. So it made it look like they were trying to Rosh. So of course, because there's the threat of the level 1 Rosh, this enemy team has to check the Rosh. There's no choice. Like if they give up this Rosh, they're losing a huge advantage. So they have to go and check this Rosh. But meanwhile, what Alliance were doing, they were smoked up over here. They walked through here and they kind of wrapped around on the enemy team and ended up getting I believe it was 2 free kills. So yeah, there's a lot of mind games going around the Rosh area. And it's a very crucial part of the game. Often, even if it's not early game, when it comes to mid game, you'll see a lot of engagements going around Rosh, a lot of tiptoeing, a lot of posturing. One team trying to take him out, then getting chased out, then being kind of held out of this kind of area. Also, I should note that this... Oh yeah, I lost the tower, oh no. Oh, I'm the worst. But I should note that this area is a huge kind of tactical area when it comes to combat. Because this area, by the way, you can't hit Rosh from outside of the pit, so you have to be in this area to hit him. This is a huge choke point. Things like, let's say, Gyrocopter's Call Down, which is a huge AoE, or Jakiro with an Ice Path in here. Just any kind of AoE disable spell is critical to this area. It makes it really effective. Darkseer is another example. His wall just across this entrance makes it so that the enemy team is going to have a terrible time engaging for a team fight in this area. So yeah, you'll often see a lot of posturing around here. What else is there to cover? I guess I can cover some hero picks from here. So I'm going to go ahead and just leave this game because I don't think I have to be here anymore to cover this. I can just go to the library. So I'm just going to go over some common hero picks that you'll probably see, TI3, and kind of why they're effective, why they're picked, why they're banned, what have you. Let's go with one of the most common bans and picks first. Batrider. Where is Batrider on here? Batrider. Okay, so Batrider is a hero that's often banned, and always picked if he's not banned. He almost never makes it fully through a draft without being banned or picked. Reason being is this: he's super versatile. He's also super powerful. So Batrider is a hero that destroys solo mid if he goes solo mid. There's very few heroes that can actually contest him solo mid. So that's almost like a free lane 1 for you. But let's say they pick someone who actually can go against Batrider and actually can stand his ground. Then you can send Batrider also to offlane. He's a hero that can take care of offlane pretty easily, just because he has lots of ways to escape. He can destroy the trees kind of around that area so that he has full vision of when he's being ganked or not. He can play very defensively. And if he's not being sent offlane, he can also be sent to jungle. He's a hero that can jungle very effectively with this ability right here, Firefly, which basically leaves a path of fire around him whenever he walks around and lets him fly over stuff. This lets him take out jungle camps very easily. So he's super versatile, but most importantly, his Flaming Lasso. This is why he's banned and picked. Flaming Lasso is ability that, I'll just play this video right here, why not? Puts the enemy in a lasso. Oh, he's not even moving around. But you put them in that lasso, it completely disables them, and you can drag them around. Through cliffs, through whatever, straight to your team. It allows them to be picked off really easily. And most importantly, it goes through BKB. So there's a lot of, most carries in the game tend to get magic immunity in the form of like Black King Bar, or maybe their Lifestealer who already has innate magic immunity. So Lasso is a skill that goes through that magic immunity and allows you to disable them while they're in their kind of kill everything mode. So you single them out, you pull them out to your team, you use something like, let's say, a Force Staff to get them out faster, and that's a free pickoff for your team. And suddenly, the enemy team is fighting 5v4 without their core hero, like a carry or like a solo mid or something like that. And they're suddenly at a huge disadvantage. So that's one of the reasons he's picked and banned most of the time. Also, this skill right here, Sticky Napalm, super annoying. Super annoying, especially for enemy melee carries, because what it does is not only does it slow the enemy and kind of make them take more damage from bat, but most importantly, it slows the turn rate. So a lot of people don't know what turn rate is in this game. When, let's say you're trying to turn around to hit a creep that's behind you, you can't hit that creep instantly. You actually have to turn, like physically turn first. So whenever you have the Sticky Napalm on you, it slows your turn rate, makes you turn 70% slower. I'll go ahead and demonstrate. I wonder if the video shows that. No, it doesn't. Of course it doesn't. But if you have this a lot of stacks of this Sticky Napalm on you, it makes it really slow to turn. It's terrible for melee carries because they have to actually, be right by the enemy to actually hit them. So they're having to turn around a lot, and just makes it really easy for them to be kited around, stuff like that. Moving on, let's go to Wisp, another common ban and pick. Wisp is a hero that flat out changes the game. It changes the pace of the game, changes the way the game is played. You have to play differently when you're playing against a Wisp. Wisp is mostly known for its, its tether, which links up with an ally, and the ultimate, Relocate. So what this does is it allows Wisp to TP to any part of the map with whoever it is tethered to. So let's say the Wisp is tethered to a Sven. Both of them can TP wherever they want. Let's see if this shows this properly. Okay, no, these videos suck, by the way. So Wisp can TP wherever. Doesn't have to be it doesn't have to be to a tower like a TP scroll or anything. It could just be wherever. And then after 12 seconds, Wisp and whoever Wisp is tethered to will be teleported back to its original location. So the reason this is powerful leads to a lot of surprise games. You tether someone who can kill, like let's say like a Chaos Knight, let's say like a Sven or a Tiny, someone with a big disable, lots of damage, or just like, it could really be anyone with kind of like ganking potential, like even like a Viper or something. You tether them, you just relocate right in front of an enemy hero that's singled out, you know they're alone, you can easily gank them. You TP there, you kill them, and then you're safely TP'd back, and your carry can remain farming or whatever. It's a free kill. It means the enemy team has to always play super passively at all times. Often you'll see teams 5-man whenever they're against an enemy Wisp, because if you, let's say you 4-man push a mid tower and your carry is off farming top, Wisp sees your carry farming top, he'll TP over there, pick off your carry real fast, and then be back in time for the team fight. Suddenly it's 5v4, suddenly carry's dead, losing farm, not farming, losing lots of gold, while their ganker / carry, whoever is going along with Wisp, is getting all that free farm, or not free farm, free kills, and then farming after that, or what have you. Basically changes the way the game is played. You'll see a lot more 5-man whenever Wisp is being played. You'll see a lot of offensive wards from the Wisp coming out from the Wisp. What that means is wards basically kind of closer to the enemy side of the map, so that Wisp always has vision of where the enemies are. Because if you can find one singled out, that's an easy kill, free kill for Wisp. Let's keep moving on. I'll try to make these go faster because there's actually a lot of heroes that are common nowadays. Because I mean, the Dota 2 metagame's in a pretty good place in terms of balance. You'll see a lot of heroes played. Like one of the compendium predictions was how many heroes do you think won't be played in the international? And it's already like less than 16 through 20, so it's already 15 or less heroes that haven't been picked yet. So it's a very versatile roster right now. So I'll try to move through these faster. OD, let's go for him next. Outworld Devourer is another hero that you'll often see banned, rarely see picked because he's always banned all the time. This hero is insta-win lane. You send him mid, you send him solo in, he wins the lane. Like there are very few heroes that can actually withstand OD's harass. Why? Why does he win the lane? Because of the skill over here, Astral Imprisonment. What this does is, here, I'll just go ahead and show what it looks like. Okay. Thank you, video. Good job. You nailed it. No, don't play again. That was very informative. You don't have to do it again. He puts you in that kind of trap, this prison, for however long, depending on the level of the Astral Imprisonment. But more importantly, he steals your intelligence. So let's say it's a Queen of Pain mid, or a Puck mid, some sort of intelligence hero that you'll commonly see mid. You'll steal their intelligence, give it to OD for the duration, which is steal duration 60, right? So it'll give it to him instead for a minute. And because the enemy is Quap or Queen of Pain or Puck, some sort of intelligence hero, they'll lose base damage. Because, in case you guys didn't know, a lot of your base damage is dependent on your primary stat. So let's say a int hero gets 30 intelligence, they'll get 30 base damage. That makes it easier to last hit, makes it easier to deny, makes them stronger, obviously. But if they lose that, then they'll lose 30 base damage. So OD just keeps spamming this imprisonment over and over again. They'll lose base damage, they won't be able to last hit, while OD is getting this base damage, because he's getting this intelligence, and he's an intelligence hero. So he gets like absurd amounts of damage early on, like 100, which is just ridiculous. And it's so easy for him to last hit, so easy for him to deny. He can harass the enemy out of lane. And not only that, but it'll make the enemy hero have almost no mana pool because they're losing all their intelligence. They can't even cast spells. It's just a really bad time for them. He just spammed this over and over and over again, and it's just an easy one lane for him. So often you'll see this hero banned out. Not to mention his ultimate is really powerful late game. His Sanity's Eclipse, which basically does a huge AoE. I won't go into the mechanics of how it works for now. Let's just broadly, I'll just say that the bigger the intelligence difference between his targets that it's hitting and OD himself, the bigger that difference is in intelligence, the more damage it does. I don't know if that makes sense, but it's kind of a weird skill. You have to kind of read up on it, but it's very powerful. Big AoE, big damage most of the time, depending on how much intelligence OD has. And this Astral Orb, or this Arcane Orb, I should say, which it's an orb effect that does pure damage. Really powerful against heroes like DK, who have lots of armor. It just cuts through all of that, does pure damage. So yeah, OD is a very powerful hero. You'll often see him banned out. In fact, I want to say that he's leading the most banned so far in the TI3. I want to say he's the most banned hero so far. I could be wrong on that, but I always see him banned out whenever I'm watching games from TI3. Let's keep going to Magnus. This is a hero that was he's not played, let's say, as often as he used to be, but he's still played a fair amount. Mostly because he has this. I'll just explain reverse polarity for you guys, because try to speed things up a bit, and this is what he's known for anyways. So Magnus is a hero that once he gets blink, he can use this. Well, he can use it at any time, but it's most explosive once he gets a blink. Reverse polarity is his ultimate. It's kind of, think of it as an instant black hole. If you guys are familiar with Enigma's black hole, it'll basically pull all enemies around in an AoE. Ooh, that was loud. That was really loud. But it'll pull them to him in an AoE. It'll stun them, and it'll do damage. So this is huge because it's instant. It's an instant stun. It's instant kind of grouping to bring all the enemies together, and it'll just let your teammates just demolish and wipe out your enemies. And And if you get like, let's say, a 3-man RP, as demonstrated here, or a 4-man RP or a 5-man RP, that's a like almost guaranteed to be an instant team fight win. So yeah, this is why he's picked a lot. It's why he's not really banned that much anymore, but you'll see him from time to time. This skill actually got nerfed not that long ago. It doesn't do nearly as much damage as it used to. I believe it used to do 150 at level 1 and then just went up from there, so that's a lot of the reason why he's not played as commonly anymore. But yeah, I'll just keep on moving. Let's go to... let's go Weaver. Where's Weaver? Weaver. Let's get Skur. Okay, Weaver is a hero you'll see picked a lot now, especially nowadays. He's found his way back into the meta. He's a carry hero that's very hard to kill. It's so annoying to kill a Weaver, especially if he goes like Linken's, BKBs, defensive items like that. Reason being Shikuchi. This skill, it lets you instantly go invis, and or actually not instantly, I should say. There's a 0.25 second fade time, but you know, it's practically instantly. Not only does he go invis, but he gains max movement speed for the duration of this invisibility. And at level 4, the cooldown's 6, and the duration is 4. So he can be invis like a majority of the time. And just running around, maneuvering, getting in good positioning, just making it a nightmare for your supports and just people to kill him in general. And another reason he's really hard to kill is because his time-lapse ability. This is his ultimate. What this does, it basically brings him 5 seconds back in time. So let's say he's being ganked. He was full HP, and he goes from full HP to almost dead because he's getting ganked and disabled, whatnot. If he gets out of that disable and gets he's able to pop his ultimate time-lapse, he's sent 5 seconds back in time. So he's more or less basically back to that full HP state. And they just used already all their abilities. It's all on cooldown. You can just invis away. It's no problem for him. So yeah, it's very hard to kill a Weaver, and he actually gets a lot of damage later on because of this Geminate attack, which is a passive that lets you attack twice, basically every like 2.5 seconds at level 4. It's a lot of damage coming out from him. He's a really strong hero in general. Great positioning. You can make a lot of plays with his time lapse. He puts a lot of damage out, and yeah. What else? Let's go to DK. DK's another hero that found his way back into the meta recently. I mean, he was never super out of style, but he's played a lot more nowadays than he used to be. He's kind of like, I hate to use kind of LOL terminology, but he's kind of like a bruiser carry in a way. Because he's someone who dishes out a lot of damage, but also is very hard to kill, very survivable. Not in the terms of like Weaver, in the sense that he has a lot of escapes and stuff like that, but just because of this passive, Dragon's Blood. Gives you insane amounts of armor. I mean, I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly, he has pretty decent armor progression from his base, just his natural stats anyways, but this passive gives him 12 armor, 5 health regen. It makes him super hard to, it's super hard to bring him down through like physical attacks alone. You need stuff like magic damage, you need stuff like pure damage, but the problem is this is a carry that often goes for a BKB, a Black King Bar, which provides magic immunity, so it's even harder to bring him down. He has a lot of natural health, just in terms of like when he levels up, he just gets a lot of health. Excuse me, I'm a little burpy right now. Also, his Elder Dragon form turns him into a fucking dragon. This is super useful for a lot of reasons. It makes him move faster, for one thing, but it makes him a range hero instead of melee hero. And his level 1 dragon gives him a poison dot, which also works on towers. This is huge because whenever he's taken down a tower, he's a hero that can kind of split push, like which I was talking about earlier. He can take down towers very easily. He provides a lot to kind of like a pushing lineup. His poison is, I want to say it's 20 damage a second for 5 seconds at level 1. So it's basically 100 free damage on the tower. Most magic spells don't damage towers, but this is one of the exceptions. Level 2, his level 2 dragon gives your attack an AoE, which it's 100% cleave if they're very tightly bundled together. It's like 75% if they're a little bit more spread apart, and I think it's like 25% when they're really far apart. But yeah, the closer they are, the more cleave you're getting from that splash attack. Level 3 dragon, it also adds a frost slow that I want to say it slows movement speed 35% and then attack speed 25%, something like that. But basically slows them as well. Super powerful. He's really hard to bring down. Does a lot of damage in the later game. Not to mention that he initiates really well once he gets a Shadow Blade with his Dragon Tail, which is basically it's a really long stun. It's one of the longer non-ultimate stuns in the game, 3.25 seconds. And yeah, I'm just gonna keep moving on, just keep going. Let's see. Life Stealer. Let's go for Life Stealer next. Life Stealer. Life Stealer is another hero you'll often see. This guy's picked all the time, if not picked, banned all the time. He's kind of similar to a Bat in that way. He's almost always banned or picked. You'll rarely see him get through a draft without being banned or picked. He is a carry that there's a couple reasons why he's popular. One, he has this Rage ability, which gives him a magic immunity. So basically, he's a carry that doesn't have to farm up for a BKB. He has innate magic immunity. It makes him attack really fast, gives him a lot of offensive potential as well. So it serves both defensive and offensive purposes. But more importantly, that he's a carry that can bring down other carries with this passive. He has Feast, which basically it's almost like innate lifesteal, except it works differently from lifesteal. It takes off a percentage of their current health. So like at level 4, every time you attack them, let's say you attack a full HP Sven, like in this example over here, you'll take down 7% of his current health, which since he's max health, it'll be 7% of his max health, and it'll give it to you instead. And every time you're attacking, you're doing this effect. So it's bringing them down further and further and further, which is really strong against some of the kind of survivable carries, like let's say a DK, like let's say a Sven, heroes with carries with a lot of HP. It's pretty good counter against them, and also helps Lifestealer survive even more. He's also a carry that can engage really early. Like he doesn't have to have super farm to be really effective in fights or ganks because of this open wounds, which is a really beastly slow. I'll go ahead and demonstrate it. Yeah, like you barely can move once this is on you. Allows Lifestealer just just rage and just hit you and destroy you, and his lane partners are also destroying you at the same time. And you can't really do anything about it. You can't really respond to it because you can't disable Lifestealer when he's magic immune, with certain exceptions, of course. But he's basically just he's a overall good carry just because he's survivable. He has offensive offensive purposes. He can jungle if need be. He can kind of basically do anything. You'll see him banned out a lot. Also, he's a strength hero, so he gets a lot of natural HP just by leveling up. Moving on, let's go to Alk. I'm just going to give a brief overview on Alk. Basically, this hero is picked a lot because he can farm. He farms fast. He farms hard, he farms fast. You'll often see him being picked by kind of more often in the Eastern teams, but Western teams have started to adopt him nowadays, but you'll see him all the time on Eastern lineups, just because their kind of metagame has traditionally always kind of revolved around getting a really farmed carry and then pushing out late game, or pushing out once that carry is super farmed. Alk is the fastest farmer in the game. Like, if you have a Alk with free farm, you have the fastest farmer in the game because of this skill, Grieful's Greed. It's his passive. Basically what this does, in a nutshell, you kill creeps, you get more gold. The more creeps you kill in succession without breaking the combo, you get even more gold. So it just basically racks up. So at level 4, he's getting like plus 30 gold for every creep he's killing. And that includes like small creeps, like small jungle creeps that usually give only like, let's say they give like 10 gold or 11 gold. Suddenly they give plus 30 gold, so plus 41 gold. So he farms really fast. He's a hero that also has kind of a steroid skill in his ultimate, which basically makes him big, gives him health, makes him faster, makes him attack faster, stuff like that. And it's up a lot of the time, most of the time. So yeah, I'll just go ahead and go from there. He has a stun also. He has acid spray, which reduces armor of nearby enemies. Just overall good carry. But I would say he's a little bit more greedy than Lifestealer is, or more greedy of a pick, just because he kind of requires more items to be more effective than a Lifestealer does. Also, I should note real fast that sometimes you'll see teams like Na'Vi run a support Alchemist rather than a carry Alchemist. The reasoning behind this being that Alchemist can level up his stun instead of his Grieful's Greed passive and just go around killing people and just buying wards and mech and stuff like that, support items. And then later on in the game, he's a support that's not useless later on because he actually has a Grieval's Greed to catch up with the rest of the carries and actually join, like contribute more than just a support usually would to a late game team fight because he can catch up with the Grieval's Greed. Let's see. Oh man, there are a lot of heroes to go over. Let's just keep booking. Book. Gyro. Where's Gyro? Gyro. Yeah, sure. I am kind of glancing over the chat every now and then, so I will definitely go over hero picks like Timbersaw. But I'm already on Gyro, so let's go with Gyro. Gyro is a hero that it's a carry who farms really quickly with his flat cannon. He does a lot of damage with his flat cannon. This is a skill that you activate it, and suddenly all your attacks, every time you attack something, you attack everything in a 1000 AoE. It's a very large range. I'll just go ahead and demonstrate with this video right here. So every time he attacks, he hits everything in a very large 1000 range. So it'd be around like I'd say a little farther than that, like something like that. So he wreaks a lot of havoc and does a lot of damage in team fights. His ultimate is a big AoE that also does damage and slows, great for team fights. He has a lot of early game potential because his Rocket Barrage does a lot of damage early game. I want to say it's the most powerful level 1 skill in the game. I'm pretty sure that's correct. If you get all the damage off from the Rocket Barrage and it doesn't split with different targets, it's the most powerful level 1 skill in the game. So he has early game potential, can get a lot of kills, he has a lot of late game presence with the flat cannon and call down once he gets farm. Just great all around carry. He has a stun in his missile, and let's keep moving on. Let's see. I guess I'll just go ahead into Timbersaw, whatever. It was requested, so why not? Timbersaw is a hero that you'll see picked from time to time nowadays. He was kind of recently added to Dota 2, and he's seeing more and more play in the competitive scene. The reason being this, he deals damage. He deals damage. Almost all of his skills are pure damage. Whirling Death, it's if it cuts down a tree in the process, here I'll just go ahead and show what that looks like. It's that if that cuts down a tree, which if there's, let's say there was a tree here, if that cuts down a tree, all the damage it does also turns into pure damage. That means it's great against heroes like DK, who has lots of armor. It's great against heroes like not DK because it's magic damage anyways. I should say something more like it's great against heroes like Pudge, who have lots of magic resistance, or heroes with Cloak of Defiance, or Hooded Defiance, I should say. Basically heroes with lots of magic resist and get ways to get around that, because it'll just ignore all that magic resist and ignore the natural magic resist of 25%, which all heroes have at the start of the game, and just do 250 damage, just straight up, without any kind of resistances or mitigation or anything like that. His Timber Chain makes him very Spider-Man-like. He can get around the map. It has a 4-second CD. He can just kind of hook to any trees he wants. It has a really long range, and like I said, 4-second CD, so he can keep doing it over and over again. This is also pure damage. Any units he passes through takes damage, and pure damage, so that's another 220 pure damage that they're taking. He has reactive armor, which it lets him stay in lane longer. It's great for late game. Basically just gives him armor every time he's hit. And his ultimate Chakram, which he can throw out, and this, again, pure damage. So this guy is all about the pure damage. He's great for taking out supports, great for taking out magic resist kind of like carries that maybe, let's say they have a Rubik on their team and their carry is anti-mage. That means that anti-mage is taking like almost no magic damage, period. Because anti-mage has a passive which reduces the amount of magic damage he's taking. Rubik has a passive that reduces the amount of magic damage that your teammates take. So anti-mage is basically taking no magic damage, period. You get this Timbersaw pickup, he doesn't care. He gives literally no shits about the magic resistance and just cuts through all of it. So you often see him picked up to kind of like destroy supports or destroy magic resist kind of centric teams. There is a big problem with Timbersaw though. His biggest problem is that he cannot really break the base. And what that means is, because there are no, his gameplay kind of revolves around trees. And because there are no trees inside base, or there are, but not many inside base, they're kind of around the kind of outskirts. There's none like, let's say, behind the tower or behind racks or anything like that. So he has a lot of trouble kind of getting into the base and contributing a lot to the push into, let's say, to get the racks or whatever. Doesn't really do a whole lot there. He has to kind of waddle along and hope to get a good whirling death off and a good chakram, his ultimate. And so he's really awkward in those kind of situations. But otherwise, like, let's say you're in the enemy jungle or you're in your jungle or area, basically most of the map, excluding maybe solo or like mid, because there's not a lot of trees to hook to mid, and the base, obviously, like I was talking about earlier, just everywhere else he excels because he can just maneuver around everywhere. He disrupts team fights a lot because he can just like kind of throw himself in the middle of it and throw out all his spells, and suddenly everyone has a scamper. He's similar to a Clockwork in that respect. So yeah. Let's see. Oh, also I should note that he actually got buffed not that long ago. So his int gain got buffed, and his natural starting int got buffed. So he has more mana pull than he used to, and he's not hurting as much in the mana department as he used to be. Let's see. Spectre. Let's go to Spectre. Why not? Spectre is a hero you'll sometimes see being played, whereas she used to never get played in the past. Or not never. I should say more recently she wasn't played that much. But nowadays she is picked up every now and then because she's a carry that... Basically, here's the main reason she's powerful. One, she has a lot of teamfight presence with her ultimate, Haunt, which basically creates an illusion of her at every enemy hero, and which will attack them. Like such. No, don't play again. But more importantly, she can TP into any of her illusions that it creates at any given point. So what this means is not only are you doing a lot of team damage, doing a lot of damage to their supports with your illusions, you can be, let's say your team is about to face a team fight bottom, and you're Spectre, you're up top farming, okay? You can keep farming. You don't really have to go TP and join the fight bot, because at any given point, any given moment in the game, you can just ult and just immediately TP to your illusion, and suddenly you're in the fight. So yeah, you can constantly be farming without having to worry about, oh, do I have to TP here to help support? Because you can just ult, pop in the fight, cause a lot of confusion with your illusions, a lot of panic, and there you go, dishing a lot of damage. Yeah, let's keep moving on because I'm starting to lose my voice. Nature's Prophet. I think I kind of went over Nature's Prophet and why he's useful in that brief tutorial I did before all of this, but I'll just go over it real fast. He's really good because of his TP, like I demonstrated in that game. You can TP anywhere, basically 20-second cooldown at level 4, so you can be all over the map. Create treants to help push these little minions. Split pushing towers where the enemy isn't, forcing them to TP back or forcing them to make bad decisions, bad trades, stuff like that. His ultimate is global. It's like a global nuke that bounces around, and he can make arena trees to trap people in. You'll see him picked a lot, banned a lot. Alliance love to run him offlane with Admiral Bulldog. Tinker. Another great split pusher. Reason being, he has his ultimate, Rearm. This is the trademark of Tinker. Rearm lets you, once you finish channeling the ability, it lets you completely refresh all your abilities and your items. This includes items like Boots of Travel. So you TP somewhere, you rearm, you can TP anywhere else. Like, you don't have to wait the 60-second cooldown for Boots of Travel cooldown. So this lets him split push with his March Machines. He TPs to a lane where nobody's out. He spams March, TPs back to Fountain, heals up, goes right back in, TPs to the team fight, helps out, TPs back to Fountain, heals up, TPs back top to split push or what have you. He's constantly all over the place. It's really hard to push into, really hard for enemy teams to push into a Tinker who is just spamming March of the Machines constantly, because this is a lot of AoE damage. This is what it looks like. Just basically like hundreds of little machines just marching out. And Tinker, because he has this rearm, he can rearm that and just spam it again, over and over and over and over again, overlapping on each other and just doing tons and tons of damages. So it's really hard to push into the base of a Tinker. No. Let's keep going. Lone Druid. Where's Lone Druid? Man, I'm having like a brain fart. Agility. Lone Druid's a hero that is unique in this game because he has the ability to summon this minion, this bear. However, this is a permanent minion. Only goes away whenever it dies, and then at that point you can resummon it. But more importantly, that this minion the bear has its own inventory. So not only do you have the 6 slots on your hero to fill, you have 6 slots on the bear. So basically, Lone Druid's role is usually kind of, I don't want to say he's not a hard carry per se. He can kind of be played as a hard carry, but he's more of kind of like a split pusher, similar to like, I don't want to say split pusher. I want to say just a pusher. He helps to push for the team because the bear does lots of natural damage to towers. The bear's damage type is demolish. Actually, I believe that's the technical name of it. I don't remember exactly, but it does more damage to towers than most other things. So he helps pushing. He roots enemies in place. He's great as a anti-carry lockdown because the bear's root, I should say that the bear, whenever it hits, has a chance to entangle. And I'm not sure if it probably won't show that. Or will it? No, it doesn't show that. But every time it hits, it has a chance to entangle, which is almost like a bash. It locks the hero in place so they can't do anything. Goes through BKB, goes through magic immunity, so it's great for anti-carry lockdown. And stuff like that. Yeah, we'll just move on. Next up, let's go to Coddle, Keeper of the Light. Where is Keeper of the Light? Keeper of the Light, Keeper of the Light, Keeper of the Light. Am I just... Oh, moused over him too. Keeper of the Light, very powerful hero because, actually a lot of reasons. You'll often see him picked or banned out. He doesn't get through the draft that often. He doesn't get through without being banned or picked that often. Although, I would say that he gets through more often nowadays. Like, people have stopped caring as much about him, but... Main reasons he's powerful, Chakra Magic. This is an ability that just refills magic. You can use this on yourself, on your teammates, so you keep your lane partners constantly full of mana. This ability, Illuminate, you charge this up. It's comic. Man, I can't even think of the word. That's how out of it I am right now. Just talking. It's Dragon Ball Z. There you go. Totally got through that one. So you just charge up, you send out a blast. This is great for harass, it's great for pushing, because you kill creep waves very efficiently, or effectively I should say. It's great for anti-pushing, because let's say they're trying to push into your base, you're on top of your hill, you're charging this up, let it go, kill all the creeps, suddenly they can't push. Where's their push gone? To hell. So it's powerful like that. Okay, those are his main points. Just gonna keep blazing through these as fast as I can because there's so many heroes to go through. Visage is a hero that has been seen a huge rise of popularity recently. Like, he's my pick for most pick hero for TI3, and I want to say he is so far. I could totally be wrong on that, but he's definitely one of the most picks so far. He is a hero that usually play as support or like sometimes like a rotating support ganker. He's super powerful in tri-lanes, especially offensive tri-lanes because of this skill, Soul Assumption. Basically, the more damage that the enemy takes, the stronger this nuke is. It has a 4-second cooldown. Ridiculous. It has a really long range, 1375. Does a lot of damage. It's basically like a free Dagon every 4 seconds at level 4 if the enemy is taking a lot of damage. So the more damage the enemy taking, the more damage that this skill does. That's what those little bars are on top of its head. See, that's a full damage Soul Assumption whenever those bars are full. He's also one of the strongest laners in the game because of this skill, Grave Chill. It's a slow that slows their movement speed and their attack speed, and instead gives it to Visage. So this is actually one of my favorite level 1 skills in the game. So yeah, great video, guys. Good job, Elf. It steals all their stuff, gives it to you, makes you move super fast, makes them move super slow, makes you attack super fast, and it's just a great level 1 skill all around. His birds, familiars. This is his ultimate. He summons minions, birds, and they can go around, flying around everywhere. You'll often see Visage birds used to scout, to block camps, to just harass people, to get vision. They attack really fast. They have a lot of damage, but every time they attack, their damage drains. So they start off with really high damage, and they'll eventually go to really low damage. But they have an ability called Stomp, and what that does is, let's see if it's on here. Okay, there's the Stomp. The familiar will stomp down, stun enemies around themselves, and be invulnerable for, I want to say it's 10 seconds. I could be wrong on that, but I think it's 10 seconds. It'll make them vulnerable for 10 seconds. It'll immediately raise them to full HP. It'll give all of their damage back, so they're hitting at this high max damage again. And after that, they come back up, and you can use them to scout again, or use them to attack, or what have you. They're really strong as an AOE disable. But the thing is kind of a double-sided blade. They're really strong, really effective, but if the enemy kills them, each one is worth 100 gold. That's a lot of gold. So you do not want to sacrifice these birds. You're going to keep them as safe as possible and make sure that they don't die. Oh, moving right on. Let's go to Rubik. Rubik's a hero that's highly defensive, or I should say that he's great in a defensive tri-lane, is what I mean, because he has a disable, but it's a disable that does no damage. It just lifts them up, and you can kind of place pick where they want to land. I wonder if this demonstrates that. Of course it doesn't. Okay, so while they're in that lifted period, Rubik can decide like if they want to land here, or if land them there, what have you. So yeah, it's a great disable, but it doesn't do damage. So he's usually more played as a defensive support to keep your carry alive in the defensive tri-lane. He also has his Fade Bolt, which is a bouncing nuke, kind of like a chain lightning. It'll go around nuking everything, but it also reduces their damage. So that's another reason why he's played kind of as a defensive support, because if you reduce the damage, it's harder for them to kill your carry. But most importantly, he's mostly known for his ultimate spell steal. So whenever he uses on someone, he steals the last, he gains usage of the last spell that they cast. So let's say this the last spell he cast was his stun. Actually, this will probably demonstrate it. Right? Okay. So you steal his stun, you can use it against him. You keep that for, depending on the level, 180, 240, 300 seconds. And the cooldown's pretty short, so you can go around stealing spells left and right in team fights. You could, the biggest plays are like whenever he steals a black hole or something huge like a Ravage, things like that. Reverse Polarity from Magnus. He'll steal these big ultimates, use it back on the enemy team, completely turn the tides of a team fight. So he's a really powerful support that can kind of be super versatile depending on the lineup that the enemy has. Let's keep going. Who else? I guess I'll go with Jakiro, why not? This hero doesn't see as much play as he used to. Still sees play though. I'll mostly just go over his Ice Path. This is the best skill he has. It's a line disable that after a short delay will disable everything caught in it. Like thus. See, it'll disable all that stuff, but actually this is the old Ice Path. They actually reworked this skill, so this video is from the old Ice Path, but just imagine that Ice Path staying out on the field for a while. And even if they don't get caught in the initial blast radius, this Ice Wall will stay out, and if they walk into it, they'll still get disabled. So very powerful AoE nuke, or not AoE nuke, AoE disable, and often you'll see big plays come out whenever Jakiro gets like 3 people disabled in that Ice Path, stuff like that. Liquid Fire, his passive, also makes pushing easier because it slows the attack speed of anything caught in it, anything on fire like that, but it also works on towers. So he's actually pretty amazing for pushes. It'll slow the attack rate of the tower and make it easier for your creeps to survive so that you keep banging away on the tower. Also, it's great for enemy carries, of course, because they're attacking that much slower. Let's keep going to Shadow Demon. Shadow Demon. Shadow Demon is another kind of defensive support, kind of in terms of Rubik. He's usually seen in defensive lineup or defensive tri-lanes. Although sometimes you'll see him played offensively. I'll show you why. So this skill, Disruption, is what he's mainly used for. It'll basically put them in a prison similar to like OD's Astral Imprisonment that we saw earlier. But when they pop out, 2 illusions of them spawn and basically bang away at them. So this can be used offensively. Let's say you have an offensive tri-lane of Shadow Demon, Mirana, and XXX. Whoever else. Shadow Demon can go and disrupt. Put him in this bubble here. And then Mirana can go ahead If Mirana's standing here, she can launch an arrow and time it so that right when they pop out, the arrow will hit them just immediately after, and then that's a free stun. You can set that up with a lot of other skills. Let's say Kunkka's Kunkka's Torrent or his ultimate, Pudge Hook, things like that. A lot of timing-based skills that would be hard to land otherwise. Lesh's Stun. But more importantly than this, he's often being played defensively because you can use this on allies. So let's say there's an enemy Batrider eyeing your carry. He ults your carry. He's playing to drag him far away from the team fight to let his team pick him off really easily. You use Disruption on your carry. Suddenly, all that damage is gone. They're in this prison and they're invulnerable for how long is it? 2.5 seconds. So that's a lot of time. So that's 2.5 seconds of invulnerability for your carry or like whoever's getting ganked or what have you. You can dodge spells with this. You can do a lot of stuff. A lot of gimmicks can be done with this spell. Very versatile. This spell basically makes people take more damage, amplifies the damage they take by a lot, 50% at max level. And his ultimate. His ultimate is a purge that makes them go really slow and take damage at the end of the purge, a lot of damage. But most importantly, it goes through magic immunity. So against the BKB carries like Sven, Dragon Knight, people like that, Lifestealer with his rage, it goes through all that, cuts through all of that, and it just slows them. This is huge against melee carries. Because if melee carries are slowed, they can't do anything. They can't reach their target. They can just be kited around the entire fight, just being useless. All that farm goes to waste. It's really good ultimate to lock down carries. Let's see. Next, let's go to Chen. Why not? Chen. Chen is mostly known for his creeps. This spell, Holy Persuasion. He can go to the jungle. He can convert creeps to his own cause, like you see here. He controls those creeps, gains access to all of their spells. And jungle creeps, as you may or may not know, they're actually a lot more powerful. They're really powerful at the beginning of the game because they have a lot of HP, they have a lot of damage relatively, they have more damage than heroes most of the time, the big creeps at least, and they have powerful abilities like, let's say, centaurs can stomp, disable enemies around them in an AoE. Satyrs can have a line nuke, basically, AoE nuke. They're very powerful, so you'll see Chens oftentimes going around with their creeps, smoking up and ganking other lanes. You'll see them pushing towers with 3 creeps, big creeps, and it's really hard to defend against that early on in the game. What else? His ultimate is really useful. It's a global heal, heals all your allies. It has a really long cooldown, but it's really effective. It's basically like a free, get out of jail free card. What else? Test of Faith. So this skill is a little weird. It has 2 usages. It has offensive and defensive purpose. Offensive, if you use on an enemy, it does a random amount of damage, which is cool, but you know, it's not that special. Defensively, though, it's a whole different story. You can use it on an ally, and let's say it's the level 4 Test of Faith. If you use it on an ally, 3 seconds later they'll be TP'd back to their fountain. Safe from harm. It doesn't even matter if they get disabled. It doesn't matter if you get disabled. It's not channeling or anything like that. You just cast down an ally. 3 seconds later, they're back to base, no matter what. So your carry's getting ganked. He has no way out. Can't TP because there's disabled and stuff like that. He's about to die. Cast this on this. Cast this on them. 3 seconds later, they're back to base, safe from harm. And you can even ult. You can use your ult to heal them in case they're gonna die before the 3 seconds expire. So you can heal them, you know, send them back, and suddenly that's a gank that's completely foiled. We'll just keep moving on. Go fast. Let's go for Windrunner. Why not? Often seen, played in the offlane. So yeah, Windrunner's a hero that you often see in the offlane. She's really good for offlane because of this ability, Windrun. It lets her run at a lot faster than she usually does. Just gotta go fast, basically. Like that. But also, while she's running like this, she's completely invulnerable, or she can dodge all attacks. All physical attacks coming to her way will miss, basically. So it's really easy to get away from enemy supports trying to zone you out and trying to hit you and harass you and stuff like that, or kill you even. She can farm from long distances with Power Shot. She can harass with long distances from Power Shot. It's basically like a channeling nuke that does damage in a line. Late game, she's great for her Shackle Shot. which will basically... So explaining the skill is kind of weird. It's a disable, but let's say the Windrunner is standing here. Sven is standing here. She shackle shots, and then whatever is behind Sven, let's say it's this tree, or even if it's a creep or an enemy hero, if there's something behind them, it'll shackle them together, and it'll disable both. So let's say this wasn't a tree. Let's say this was a hero. It's a two-man disable, basically. It lasts for a really long time, 3.75. Super powerful if you land on two heroes. Like in this instance, it just lands on the tree, so only the Sven is disabled, but if there was, like, let's say a life stealer or something behind here, you shackle both of them together, that's a huge duration disable on both of them. It's really strong, really powerful. 12-second cooldown, pretty spammable. Just a really versatile, strong, powerful hero. Let's see what else. Let's go Darkseer, keeping with the trend of offlaners. Where's Darkseer? I'm like, my brain is tripping out right now. Here we go. He's really good at offlaning because of this ability, Ion Shell. Or actually, two abilities, I should say. Surge, which makes him max move speed for however long duration, depending on his level. So he can easily escape ganks, easily escape getting killed, stuff like that. So, because whenever you're offlaning, the main rule, don't die. You just don't want to die while you're offlaning, so he's a hero that's really good at getting away, because you don't want to feed the enemy carry, of course. But even though he's a hero that can get away easily, he's also a hero who can actually farm in the offlane, which many heroes can't. Whenever a lot of heroes offlane, they just try to survive. That's their main goal. Darkseer is a hero who actually can get some creep farm while he's at it because of this Ion Shell. What you'll see is you'll see him cast this on creeps a lot of the time, and this whenever the shell is cast on something, it'll do AoE damage on all enemy units around it. So he can cast this on his creeps, and while the creeps are pushing, it'll like do damage to the enemy creeps, and sometimes he'll get the last hits off that, get gold. It'll harass any kind of enemy melee carries trying to farm, because in order for them to farm, they have to be right next to the creep, so they'll be taking a lot of damage in the meanwhile. And yeah, it just does a huge amount of damage, has a really low cooldown. He can keep 2 Ion Shells on things at once because the cooldown's so low, and the duration's 20, the cooldown's 10, so yeah. Late game, you'll see Vacuum come into play a lot. I'll just show what it does. It basically, like it sounds, it vacuums stuff together. This is great for team fights because it brings all the enemies into a certain point, a single point, which can be then like hit with AoE nuke, like let's say Queen of Pain, ulti, or like maybe something like a Jakiro Ice Path, a disable. This makes it really easy to target all your spells on one location. Also, Darkseer ult, it's the wall. You cast this, anytime an enemy goes through it, it does a little bit of damage, and it creates illusion of them. The illusions are quite powerful, so whenever you're in a team fight, you do not want to fight inside this wall. You do not want to fight against these illusions. But the trick is, you cast this wall, and then you vacuum all the people, all the enemies into the middle of it, so that they basically have to go through the wall, and they're just fighting their replicas alongside your team. So, moving on. I guess we'll go with Queen of Pain next, because it's another mid you'll see often. Although not as often recently, which is a little weird, because she's a very powerful mid. This is a hero that can basically win mid against most matchups, because she has really high base damage, really good base attack animation, so it's really easy for her to last hit. Her harass is really powerful. She can Shadow Strike for harass, which basically poisons the enemy and makes him move slower, takes some damage over time, does a lot of damage. She blinks, she's very survivable with her blink. It's very low cooldown, level 4, 6 seconds. Covers a lot of distance, makes her very maneuverable, basically. Scream of Pain, AoE nuke. This lets her farm, this lets her push, this lets her have a lot of presence in team fights. It's really low cooldown. Yeah, really strong. And her ult is basically just AoE damage. Combined with something like a Darkseer Vacuum, like I mentioned earlier, just does a lot of work in team fights, a lot of damage. She's a mid hero who can control the pace of the game by taking small skirmishes, because she's really powerful in the mid game. She can kind of like keep the enemy constantly afraid of ganks, because she's so easy for her to get around places and just surprise people with ganks out of nowhere with blink, stuff like that. So you'll see her picked up a lot. Although, like I said, she's not picked up as much nowadays, which is a little bit weird. It's not like she was nerfed recently or anything, but you know, metagame changes, stuff like that. Let's see, Puck, another popular mid. He's Puck is a hero that's kind of similar to Queen of Pain in a way, in the sense that he controls the mid game a lot. He has an AoE nuke similar to Queen of Pain's, except it has a lot of special properties to it. So you throw a ball basically in a line like this, does damage, but at any point you can hit a hotkey and immediately teleport to the ball while the ball is still out. So let's say you were to hit the hotkey in this video like right now, Puck would instantly TP over here. So even though he doesn't have a straight up blink skill like Queen of Pain, he has a blink like ability. Like it's almost like a blink in a sense, except obviously it's not instant because he has to launch the orb has to get to wherever he's trying to get to, and then he has to blink over. So his second skill is a AoE damage nuke, and which also silences, great for team fights because you can blink into the middle of like let's say 3 heroes and then silence them to start a team fight. Suddenly, you know, they can't do anything and they're surrounded by enemies and stuff. Phase shift is an ability that wow, my video player's going crazy. He can't even play the video anymore. Anyways, he phases out of existence for a little while. It's great for dodging. It's kind of like, it's something that has to be casted manually, so it's kind of like, for a fighting game analogy, it's like Third Strike, the way that Street Fighter Third Strike had the parry system. It's kind of sort of like that, where you have to time it correctly to dodge damage. You can dodge spells, you can dodge physical attacks, you can dodge tower shots, you can dodge whatever. You're completely invulnerable while you're in this phase shift. So he dodges the Sven stun right there, and then he'll come out of it, and then, you know. It has a really low cooldown, also 6 seconds. So it's pretty spammable. It makes him really hard to kill, actually. His ultimate is the Dream Coil. This is something you'll see used a lot of time to start a team fight. Basically, it has a large AoE, and it'll... Here, I'll just demonstrate with the video.
Gather round.
It tethers all enemies it hits to this area, to the central area. If they walk too far from this area, if they walk outside of the AoE, they'll break the coil and they'll get stunned and they'll take damage. This basically means that it defines the area, the perimeter in which the team fight takes place. Because if the enemies leave that perimeter, they're not gonna have a good time. Basically, they're gonna get stunned for a long time, take a lot of damage. It's basically not what you want to do. But if you stay within that coil, you're basically letting the enemy Puck define where you're gonna fight. So this is where you'll see a lot of AoE spells come in. You'll sometimes see like well, you won't see Queen of Pain ult just because Puck and Queen of Pain won't be in the same draft, you know. But you know, theoretically, you could see something like a Queen of Pain ult or some large AoE ult. That's Gyrocopter. Gyrocopter is a good example. You'll see a Dream Coil. They have to stay within the circular area, and then you'll see Gyrocopter's ult call down. Just landed on this area, and they have to stay in there and take all the damage, and it's really good for team fights, really good to start team fights. Moving on, let's see, who should we go for next? Oh, someone I hate. Someone that has been buffed recently, or not that recently, but has been buffed to make him really super annoying, and you'll sometimes see him in competitive games now, Treant Protector. This hero. Oh, this hero. I'm not even gonna go over the other spells. I'm only gonna go over Living Armor, because this is all he needs. This is why this hero is stupid. Living Armor. You put this on an ally, it's a global ability, so you can cast it from anywhere, put it on anyone, put it on towers, whatever. Gives them damage block for X amount of instances, depending on what level they're at. So basically, they block a lot of damage, they get crazy health regen while it's on them, and it makes killing people insanely aggravating. How do you kill people with this on? It's so hard. Because here, I'll demonstrate here. I wonder... okay, they don't even... Great video, guys. It's perfect. Okay, anyways, so this guy has Living Armor on him. Suddenly, every attack coming his way, including magic damage, it's not just physical damage, it's all damage coming Sven's way is blocked by 80 damage. This means that early on in the game, physical damage does nothing, because almost nobody hits that much more, or that much over 80, so... Makes attacks almost useless, makes magic a lot weaker, gives them a lot of regen, makes heroes like Weaver super survivable, super annoying. Oftentimes you'll actually see Treant banned more than he's picked, just because people don't want to deal with him. He has other skills, but, you know, I guess Overgrowth is worth mentioning. It's an AoE disabled that it doesn't do any damage, but it locks people in place, and they can't attack while they're in it. Although they can still cast spells, but they just can't move or attack while they're in this ult. Really good against carries late game, I guess. Let's see. I don't know if there's really that many. Actually, I should go over Bane. Bane's another good lockdown hero. Often you'll see Bane picked as a kind of anti-carry. He has a lot of spells that kind of go through carry stuff, like Enfeeble will basically reduce the damage that whoever it's on will do by 120, which is a lot. It's a lot of damage to reduce it by. It lasts for a really long time. It lasts for 20 seconds, cooldown of 10. You can make their carries do a whole lot less damage. In fact, they might sometimes, if earlier on in the game, they could be completely just negligible. Like, you don't even have to care about them if they have this Enfeeble on them. Nightmare is a good setup stun. It basically sleeps them in place for a while, and then your enemies or your allies can come and stun them, like with a Leshrac stun, or something that's hard to hit, like a Pudge Hook, Marana Arrow, stuff like that. But most importantly, he has this Fiend's Grip, his ultimate. This is an ultimate that lasts for a really long time. It's channeling, so it can be broken, but still, it's very powerful. It does a lot of damage, drains a lot of their mana, like this. But most importantly, more important than this, goes through BKB, kind of like Batrider or Lasso, in the sense that that's used to kind of lock down carries whenever they're in BKB, Magic Immunity. This is kind of used the same way, makes them useless while their Magic Immunity is on, and then it makes them useless while their Magic Immunity is on. Once that turns off, they could just, your allies can just throw their spells at them left and right. So he's great as a anti-carry hero. You'll see him picked a lot, especially nowadays. Can't really think of anybody else, really. I mean, there's, like I said, a lot of heroes are being picked nowadays. A lot of heroes are popular in the meta now. But I can't really think of anybody else who requires that much explanation. I will say, I'll give it, not Naga. Actually, Naga is picked a lot nowadays, but differently. She used to be picked as a carry back in the TI2 days last year. Nowadays, she's picked more as a support, which sounds a little weird, but in the same sense that Alk is picked as a support who supports early game, but then can later on in the game do some actual damage. Naga's kind of the same way. She's great at anti-carry also with her Ensnare, because this goes through Magic Immunity. Makes it so they can't move for a really long time and can't attack. So yeah, that goes through Magic Immunity. And her song, actually, this is worth mentioning, her Song of the Siren. Her ult, it's basically, how do I describe this? It's an off switch. You turn this on, all enemies in the AoE, which is really large AoE of Naga, are put to sleep. They're invulnerable. So I mean, this sounds really overpowered because if they're put to sleep for 7 seconds, can't you just destroy them all? Except, like I said before, they're invulnerable. So your team can't actually damage them while they're in the sleep. But Naga at any time can turn it off. She can turn it off at will. So oftentimes you'll see this used to. This ult actually has a lot of uses. You'll see it sometimes to set up a gank. Like you'll see Naga turn on this ult, and then all your allies will get into position while they're asleep. Then she'll turn it off, and all your allies will throw out their spells, their disables, they'll kill people, stuff like that. So that's the offensive usage of it. It's often used as a defensive ult. Whenever, let's say, a team fight starts going poorly, things aren't going your way, it could lead to a team wipe. You turn this ult off, or you turn this ult on, suddenly reset button. You get back, you retreat, everyone TP's out. Or you can reposition everyone, get them better positioning, then turn the ult off, and then suddenly the team fight is completely different. So it can be used as an off button, it can be used as a reset button. It's really a unique ult. Bounty Hunter, I guess deserves special mention. He's not played as much as he used to, but he's still played. He's a really good offlaner. He's a great ganker with the Shuriken Toss and Shadow Walk, goes invisible. But most importantly, this is what he's known for. This is why he's picked. Track, his ultimate. Whenever you put this on enemy, you gain vision of them for the duration, which is a really long time, 30 seconds. All allies will move faster while they're close to that tracked enemy. But most importantly, whenever that enemy dies, all allies around that enemy, when they die, you get bonus gold. So Bounty Hunter will get 250 bonus gold, while all your allies get 150 bonus gold for the kill. And it's a really short cooldown. It's 5-second cooldown. So that's a lot of bonus gold being headed towards the way of your allies. So he's really good for ganking lineups because they'll rack up lots of gold fast. Your team doesn't have to farm as much; they could just kill, which also puts the enemy team in a disadvantage because they're losing gold, obviously. So he's a really powerful hero for ganking. And yeah, I can't really think of any other hero that deserves too much special mention. So yeah, in the chat, if you guys have any suggestions or any requests, if you want me to cover anybody, feel free to lay them out and I'll look over them. Oh yeah, I should mention, because you're getting more gold with Bounty Hunter's track, it makes trading in team fights, let's say you lose 2 heroes but you get 2 kills. If those 2 kills were track kills, it's not an even trade. You're actually getting a lot further ahead than the enemy team because you're getting all that bonus gold. So he makes it so it's a lot harder to trade with the other team. Or it's harder for the enemy team to trade with you. Someone wants me to cover Shadow Fiend and Clink, so I'll go with Shadow Fiend first. Shadow Fiend actually isn't seen as much nowadays. He used to be an old classic, an old standard back in the old days of Dota, especially Dota 1. He's a hero that starts off with really low base damage, but because of his passive, he gains damage every time he gets his last hit. So he gets absurdly high damage later on in the game. He controls mid, he has his nukes, which there's no video of course, for whatever reason. But basically, whenever he skills his nuke, he gets 3 separate nukes. He gets 1 for a close range AoE nuke, 1 for a mid range AoE nuke, and 1 for a long range AoE nuke. And they all have separate cooldowns. So he can spam all 3, and with this he can quickly demolish creep waves, he can push really fast, he can farm really fast. He does a lot of damage in team fights because if he hits all 3 of his nukes. And his ultimate, Requiem of Souls, after a short channeling duration, he'll do a huge, basically damage nuke around him, like this. That damage is dependent on however many souls he has from this ult, basically how much damage he has. And it also, a lot of people underestimate this part of it, but it slows people that get hit by it and also reduces their damage. So yeah, he's usually picked for kind of mid-game dominance. He's not as effective late game as other hard carries are, so he's more of a mid-game carry. Because he's really effective once he gets max souls from Necromastery, and he hits that point really early in the game. So once he hits that point, gets some items, gets maybe like a level 2 ultimate, your team can push out, take team fights, and he's usually dishing out a lot more damage than the rest of the enemy team is. What was the other hero? Clinks. Where is Clinks? Agility. There we go. Clinks is a hero killer, basically. He's often played. Whenever he's played either offlane or solo safe lane. So he's usually sent, let's say your Radiant side, he usually sent solo bot or solo top, one or the other. It kind of depends on what your lineup is and what their lineup is. But all I'll say about him is once he gets an Orchid, he kills people. He just hunts for people with his Skeleton Walk, which makes him invisible, and he can keep this up all the time because duration is longer than the cooldown. Makes him really fast, and so he can hunt for people, especially solo supports. Like, let's say the enemy support's trying to ward, you hunt them down, you pick them off, you kill them really fast. The reason why he's so powerful at doing this, or he's so good at doing this, there's a couple reasons. His orbs, or his searing arrows, I should say, which gives him a lot of damage for minimal mana cost, plus 50 damage per shot. His strafe makes him attack really fast. So combined with his searing arrows, that's a lot of damage, really coming out really fast. His death pack, his ultimate, he eats a creep, and depending on the maximum HP of the creep, he gains damage. Actually, I believe it's current HP, not. No, yeah, it is max, isn't it? I actually forget. One or the other. It's either max HP or current HP. It doesn't matter. Regardless, you use it on a creep that has a lot of HP, and depending on how much HP that creep has, you'll get maximum HP for yourself, and you also get damage for yourself. So once you eat a creep, like let's say a jungle creep with a lot of HP, you'll get a lot of damage, a lot of health for the duration of the spell. You go around killing with that. You can go take team fights. You can go push. I should note that his searing arrows works against towers, so he's really good at pushing towers with the searing arrows and the strafe. He takes them down really fast. He melts them. So yeah, his role is really to just pick people off, go hunting, and in team fights silence whoever needs to cast your spells the most, like let's say a spammer like Storm Spirit or something like that. Because the item he rushes all the time is Orchid. So yeah, any other requests real fast before I call take this to a close or something? Because my throat, oh man, I've been talking, no water. Razor, actually that's a good call because Razor actually is seeing a lot of play now. Razor is, it's hard to explain Razor. He's a hero that dishes a lot of damage without needing damage. His static link, he's also a great anti-carry because of this. His static link, you pick a target, you drain, as long as they're within a certain distance of yourself, you continually drain damage from them and give it to yourself. So they attack for less, almost nothing at a certain point. Like if you drain enough, they'll attack for negative damage, and it gives it all to you. So you do a lot of damage without actually needing many damage items. So because of this, Razor doesn't actually usually build damage items, straight damage items, like let's say like something like a Daedalus or a Desolator, although sometimes you will see Desolator on the late game, but rather instead you'll see like kind of tanky items built on the Razor, like sometimes even Mech, sometimes you'll see Ags, which also increases his ultimate. So yeah, he's a great kind of tanky anti-carry that also ends up doing a lot of damage because of the damage he steals from the carry. He's played a lot more nowadays, just to kind of answer kind of life stealers of the game, the spends, basically the carries that dish out a lot of damage. He counters them pretty hard with the static link. Also, he's pretty powerful in mid because of the static link. He strains all of the damage from the solo mid, makes it really hard for them to last hit, or impossible for them to last hit, while getting every last hit for himself and dishing out a lot of damage, similar to kind of OD. In fact, I should mention he's actually gaining traction as a popular counter to OD because even though OD will steal all his intelligence and steal all his damage or get a lot of damage from him, he could just steal it right back with a static link. It's pretty. He's one of the few heroes that has a favorable matchup against an OD solo man. Let's see. I'll probably take one more request before calling this to a close. If anybody wants to throw out anything, if there's anybody wants to know about. Orbing. So I should explain orbing. So orb effect is something like the searing arrows from Clinks that I mentioned earlier. I'll show another one. Who else has orbs? Where's Drow? Drow's over here. Her frost arrow is orb. Basically, an orb is something that can be toggled on or off. It's basically a toggle effect on your attack. So this frost arrow, it can be toggled on to make all your attacks slow the enemy every time you hit them. That's an orb. It's kind of terminology from Dota 1 that people still use. It's basically shorthand for attacks like this, like things that you toggle on to give your regular attack a different effect or more damage or what have you. Silencer is another example of a hero who has an orb with his Glaives of Wisdom. You turn it on to do more damage with each of your attacks, stuff like that. That's what orbing is. So yeah, why is it called an orb? Because of Dota 1. It was called an orb in Dota 1 because it's kind of hard to explain unless you played Warcraft 3, I should say. It's actually more from Warcraft 3 than it is from Dota 1. Yes, Huskar Fire Spirit is also an orb. So yeah, any other hero quest? I'll take one more. It looks like everybody's good. Oh, Meepo. Wow, Meepo. Well, I mean, Meepo is a hero. I'm kind of not going to bother going over him just because you're not going to see him in TI3, and this is kind of geared more towards what you'll probably see in TI3. So, I mean, I'm not saying it's impossible to see Meepo, especially from a team like Fnatic, if they're in the lead, already have a lot of wins because they're famous for no tails Meepo play. But yeah, you're probably not going to see him. I mean, and if you do, there's not much to explain about him other than there's a lot of them. He has lots of clones of himself, go around beating stuff. So yeah, any other requests? Would Bristleback ever be played in TI3? I don't remember if Bristleback's actually in Captain's mode. I want to say he is, but I actually don't remember off the top of my head, just because you rarely ever see him. Actually, is he in Captain's mode? I don't think he is. I don't think he's in Captain mode because I don't remember ever seeing him in competitive games. So that means there are certain heroes that actually aren't in the Captain's mode hero pool just because they're not considered completely balanced yet, or they have certain issues with them that aren't competitively viable. Like Huskar right now is not in Captain's mode because he just recently got reworked, so he could be considered overpowered by a lot of people. So he's not completely balanced yet, so they keep him out of that competitive hero pool. Same goes for Centaur, although he actually was reworked a long time ago. I'm curious as to why they haven't put him in competitive pool yet, but yeah, he's not in there either. Elder Titan is also not in Captain's mode. Trying to think of all the heroes off the top of my head. I want to say there's not that many more heroes that aren't in Captain's mode. I think those are the only ones, actually. Huskar, Bristleback, and Elder Titan. I want to say those are the only ones. Could be wrong. Warlock is definitely available in Captain's mode. Definitely ripe for picking, although people haven't been picking him lately. I think he's a really strong hero. I don't know why people don't pick him. He's so good, especially if you put him in a solo mid role against a solo mid he can beat. Solo mid that won't give him too much trouble, like something like an OD. I mean, like OD would give him too much trouble is what I'm saying. If you put him against a kind of easy solo mid, he'll get so much farm. He'll farm for Aghanims, farm for Refresher. That's a GG. I mean, what do you do against that? But yeah, a little sad that he doesn't see more play. Faceless Void. I guess I'll take it out with Faceless. Why not? Faceless Jelly, somewhere here, right? Yeah, Faceless. Faceless Void is a hero that you don't see too often, but he's a really powerful hero. Reason you don't see him too often is he doesn't do a lot early game, and all he can kind of do from levels 1 through, let's say, 7 is farm. That's all he can do. He has a gap closer with his time walk, which is basically like a leap. Nothing super special to say about that other than it slows allies, or not slows allies, slows enemies caught in the leap and kind of at the landing point. He has backtrack. He's very RNG based, which is another reason why he's kind of not picked, because he kind of relies on a lot of luck. Backtrack is a passive that has 25% chance to just negate any damage that Void's taking. So like,
feel my blade.
You see that with the backtrack there. He took no damage from that. That's a backtrack. It's really good against big single target ults, like let's say a Lion ultimate or a Lina ultimate, a big nuke that does a lot of damage. Sometimes he could just completely negate it. So it's pretty good defensive passive. His other passive is another kind of luck-based skill, which 25% chance to bash an enemy and do bonus damage to them. It's really good for lockdown, if you get really lucky, that is. You just keep bashing them, so you don't have to buy something like a basher like other carries do, like Lifestealer and people like that. You just have it innately. But the main thing about Faceless Void, of course, is his ultimate, his Chronosphere. This is a huge make or break ultimate. There's no better definition of double-edged sword in Dota than a Chronosphere. Chronosphere, you create an AoE effect kind of orb thing like this, completely stops time of everything inside that orb, except for Faceless Void. Faceless Void can freely move around inside it, he can leave it, he can hit stuff inside of it. He's the only one unrestricted by this orb. Everything else in this orb is completely disabled, cannot do anything, cannot use items, cannot use spells, cannot attack, cannot move, cannot do anything. And if you walk in this orb at any time, you also get frozen. So the reason why this is double-edged, obviously you can see why it could be super powerful. If you hit all 5 enemies in here, suddenly they can't do anything while you're just beating away at them and your team is beating away at them. The problem being, it affects everything, including your allies. So if you get all your allies trapped in here, that's suddenly they're sitting ducks. They can't do anything. And let's say there's an enemy out here, they just wail away at them, toss their spells in there, and your allies are getting massacred. So you have to be really careful with the positioning of this ult. It's really make or break. Could turn the tide of the game for you, or could totally throw the game if you're winning, if you get a bad ult off. It's a really scary ult to deal with. Also, it lasts a really long time, 5 seconds. So yeah, it's kind of a game-breaking ult, but it could break the game in either direction. So the reason why he isn't played as much nowadays, I would say that, one, like I said before, he doesn't really do much early game until he actually, one, gets some items, and two, gets a level 4 leap, or time walk I should say, because that will help him get into better positioning to land a good Chronosphere. because yeah, like I said, you get bad Chronosphere, you kind of lose the team fight automatically. There's nothing that can be done about it. And yeah, I mean, once Void gets farm, of course, he's a force to be reckoned with. If he gets, like, let's say even three enemies inside his sphere, he beats away at them. He does a lot of damage inside that sphere. He just completely just has free reign to just bash down people. And I should mention that his passive bash, this time lock, if it procs while he's inside this ultimate, it does double damage. So rather than doing 70 bonus damage, it does 140. So usually you'll see him build like attack speed kind of oriented items and stuff like that. And yeah, I'm just gonna. I guess I'll call it quits for today. Thanks to everybody for tuning in. That was a lot to cover. My throat hurts like ridiculous right now. But hopefully, the hope is that maybe for those of you who aren't as familiar with the game, that gives you a little bit more insight as to what will be going on tomorrow when the International 3 actually starts in earnest with the main event. Hopefully that'll help you parse out kind of the chaos that will be going on in team fights, understand why certain hero picks are stronger than others, and why lineups are important, or why drafting is important, why bans and picks are important, why some people want to avoid playing against certain heroes, and they like, let's say for instance, Nature's Prophet, like I said before, is a great split pusher. He pushes towers, he has lots of minions. Same for Chen, they're great pushers, they have lots of minions, but if one team, let's say the Radiant side, has those heroes, you know they're going for a pushing strat because they want to push down towers early. Then Dire team would want to pick something like a Keeper of the Light because of his Illuminate, he's a great anti-pusher. He'll kill all those creeps fast because of this skill right here. Just charge that up from behind the tower, you release it, suddenly all the creeps are like either dead or really weak. That just pushes or it stops the push cold. So there's a lot of counter picking going on. There's a lot of kind of metagame drafting, like what kind of lineup do I want to go for? What kind of gameplay do I want to do? Do I want to do split pushing? Do I want to do 5-man all-ins, kind of mids or big pushes? Do I want to go for a late game build? Do I want to go for mid game dominance? Do I want to go for early aggression or early safety? Things like that. Lots of stuff to consider. So hopefully this at least provides a little bit more insight into that kind of thought process whenever the captains are picking and banning heroes out. And yeah, I'm excited for tomorrow. Can't wait. I'm gonna be doing nothing but watching the International for like the next 5 days or however long it is. And yeah, I hope you guys will tune in too. And it's an exciting time. It's the Super Bowl of all competitive games, I should say. And it's gonna be a great time. I'm excited. And yeah, with that, I guess I'll leave you guys. And thanks for watching. See you next time. Bye.